After already enduring a long wet winter, so far this year on the west coast of Scotland, the weather can be best described as having been poor.
So, we're in the sound sleep. Weather's shit. It's raining. It's windy. Shit. They say the weather's shit.
Oh, the water coming down the sail.
Ask me how the weather is. It's shit!
But in spite of the weather, we tried to make the most of it.
Where does it come from?
As bad as the weather's been, and despite what it seems like, it hasn't actually rained all the time. There's even been a few moments the sun's made a brief appearance, which we've tried to make the most of.
Is that cold?
We'll be kind of picking up here where we left off last year, and we'll be heading off north again, this time up to Orkney and the Shetland Isles. We've seemingly been waiting forever for a break in those strong northerly winds, and there's now finally come a window of opportunity for us to set off. So we've just set off on our first overnight passage of the year. We left Muck, we was on anchorage at Muck for the night, and we're heading up to the top northwest corner of mainland Scotland to Loch Roe. It's about 115 nautical miles, so 22 hours. Conditions aren't as they promised, so we're going a little bit slower than we hoped. Sails are flogging, it's a bit frustrating, but hopefully it'll just pick up a little bit and the angle will change so it's not deep downwind.
As you can see behind me, as we roll, the head sail's flogging around a little bit, but we're still moving, we're still doing 4 knots, and it's not too bad. It's just right on the cusp of kind of like just absolutely annoying me to death. This is pretty much kind of like the worst conditions that I find in sailing, is when you're sailing really deep downwind and there's just not enough wind to keep the sails full.
Come on, build it up. Oh, no, 9. Come on, 12. Come on.
Yeah, if we come off the wind anymore, we're going to end up having to sail jibing angles, and it's going to slow us down even more. So over the last 36 hours we've had like northwesterly winds that have built up a little bit of a swell. I mean, it's only quite small, it's less than a metre, but that's still coming in from like a westerly, very slightly northwesterly direction. So I don't know if you can see here, but the wind's actually shifted now. So it's coming much more from the south. So we've got the wind quite deep behind us, but this rolly swell still coming in from the side, and that's what's causing the issue here of the boat just tipping back. And every time the boat rolls over, they come out of the wind, collapses the head sail. So I think we're gonna have to pole it out very shortly.
I don't know what he's doing. He must have thought, oh, they're on a good line, I'll get behind them.
Just follow
Follow what they're doing. Like, they seem to know what they're doing. Yeah, don't follow us, mate. He turned his engine off, can't hear it.
No, his engine's still running, I can hear it. I don't know why, just want to pull some
Head sail out.
sail out.
He doesn't look like he's having much fun.
He needs to be careful with the mainsail because he's got no preventer on. If he rolls around the wing behind that main, then he's...
Yeah, the wind just gets behind it.
He's changed the angle of the boat now. It's almost dead downwind.
It's still rolling about though.
Still rolling around a lot.
Wind's up to 13 now, so I must have shamed him into it.
Shamed him into sailing.
Oh, 15 knots. Ooh, exciting.
Made our way up to the Isle of Canna, and now we need to change direction and head up to Skye. So we're just about to jibe, and then we'll probably need to get the pole out because we're going to be pretty deep downwind. Ed's going to stay on this side. I'm going to pull the preventer up. I'm going to set the preventer up on the other side. We're going to jibe through, and then we'll see what angle that we're on, and yeah, see if we need to get the pole out, which I'm guessing that we probably will, because we only need to come through 50 degrees to do this angle on the other tack. We need to come over, yeah, like 65 degrees, so we're like 15 degrees off from being able to keep the head sail out. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
So we've got the pole out now, sailing dead downwind, we're wing on wing again, and so this should take us up for the next like 22 miles, up to the traffic separation scheme at the side of Skye. And then we can bear away slightly and start to head northeast back up to the mainland. So we've not got very strong winds, it's only like 12 knots, but we're in a position now where the wind that's coming from behind us has been doing so for the last like 4 or 5 hours, so it's started to build up a little bit of a swell behind there, and that westerly swell is still coming in from the side, so occasionally we get to a point where like the peak of both of those will converge together, and then it'll give it a particularly high wave and make the boat very rolly. So we're sailing completely downwind with one sail on one side, one sail on the other side, and so we need to be quite well balanced, and anything that knocks us off kilter does really make the boat heel over. Yeah, like that.
Oh, they're here, they're all here. Oh, he's slapping his tail, see him slap his tail then. Let it go.
We timed it so we're going to go through the open water area north of Skye called the Minch through the night to avoid getting there when we're tired and knackered. We've started watches already, so Sal's gone down and she's getting some rest for a couple of hours, but unfortunately the wet stuff's just arrived, so I'm going to go down also and put a jacket on. That was only a quick shower, 10 minutes and it's blown through. The wind's picked up though, it's like 17, 18 knots now, and we're now in the lee of the Outer Hebrides, the south of the Outer Hebrides, so that westerly swell that we had earlier has subsided quite a bit, and so we've just got the swell starting to build up from behind us now, and so kind of like we're starting to surf down those waves a little bit. So yeah, as we hit the crest of one of those big ones, that we're doing like 9.5 knots as we're surfing down, which is good. That bit of extra speed means that we're making up time that we lost this morning after a bit of a slow, frustrating start. But we're heading for the corner of Skye with the traffic separation scheme, and then we can head northeast. So yeah, we're making good time and all is good. Our mates are back. Go up and drop the pole. just reached the traffic separation scheme and I've bared round another 30 degrees. I'm staying really close to that traffic separation scheme, as close as I can, without getting into trouble off the Coast Guard, just to try and give us some distance between the boat and Skye. There's some quite tall sea cliffs on our starboard side, and trying to keep away offshore a little bit, just so we don't get blanketed by those and lose the wind.
Not yet. To the green.
Yeah.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's down. Well done. Good.
Yeah, so it's like 36 knots to 12 knots in like 4 minutes. or so.
It must have just been whipping round those headlands.
No, it's that.
Oh, the squall
It's the squall. It's just like the low pressure. Just
came through. The blue skies in a minute.
no. Yeah, we needed to put a reef in before it got dark anyway, so it's happy days. It's done.
Alright, well, it's done now because it's going to be dark soon.
Yeah.
Looks steamy down there.
It feels steamy down here.
Thank you. So, start of my watch, it's now 9:30 at night. There's a few squalls been coming through, so the wind's up and down. We're just at 16 knots of wind at the moment, which is not too bad. But yeah, everything's okay. It's a little bit rolly, but nothing we can't handle. So I've got 4 hours now till Miles comes back up, so just make sure I don't break anything. Just coming up for 10:30. Starting to get a little bit darker, but it's still not dark. Just passing last headland, the end of Skye, so we've just got a bit of navigating to do through these cliffs here, and then there's some islands on this side. And then after that we've got a clear run, but it's up to 20 knots again, but it's a really nice angle. Boat's handling really well. Miles is fast asleep. Yeah, it's all good. boats about. I don't know why, it's really lovely.
So it's just starting to get light. Sally's come back on watch.
Morning, 4 o'clock. We love a good morning.
So it's not stopped raining for the last 6 hours. Yeah, uneventful, the wind's dropped.
Well, it's still a bit wet and we're down to 2.5 knots speed over ground, so yeah, we've got 5 knots of wind, so it's at this point that you start to think, when do you put the engine on? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Miles has only been in bed an hour, so I don't really want to put the engine on and wake him up, because it just seems a bit of a shame because he's in slumberland. But how long do you leave it? It's nearly 6 o'clock and I've given in. Engine's on. I'm just gonna fill the sails in, drop the sail. Make a coffee, I think. Ugh. He's up.
No sign of it stopping raining though. So the wind's finally completely died. We've got the engine on, motoring in the last few miles. Still not stopped raining though. So this is where we're heading. We're heading to Loch Roe. Looks quite pretty in the guide book here.
What are you doing, washing your chain?
We were in a particularly muddy anchorage a few days ago and we left in quite windy conditions, so I wasn't able to clean the chain as it came up, and as a result the whole anchor lock of the chain and the rode got completely covered in mud. So despite having just arrived after sailing overnight and really wanting some breakfast, we had plenty of space to let everything out, and as the wind was calm, this seemed like a good time to give it all a good clean. I'm only doing this by hand just so I can coil it in the bottom of the lock a bit neater.
There's some seals being very inquisitive as to what you was up to.
Not surprised.
Like,
What the? Dicking about.
why are you dirtying our water? Where's all this mud come from? Still looking. That seal's still watching. I think we're lucky with the rain staying up. Join us in the next video as we make our way around Cape Wrath and across the North Sea to Orkney.